What's up, Boulder, Colorado? Good morning.
Shador really bailed you guys out of a lot of situations this past week.
That's the way to go, right to the throat.
Yeah.
All right.
Today, we've got a lot to cover. Several great news stories, so we're going to move quickly through them. Our main story today is about some comments that another coach made about Coach Prime. Something I love about Coach Prime is everyone has a take on him. Unlike a lot of coaches who no one cares at all until they get drunk in the post-game presser or whatever the situation is, Deion Sanders forces you to have an opinion. And you know what they say about opinions? They're a lot like cats. They often come out when you least expect them, and they can be really hard to get rid of. Just kidding, cat fans. So, grab your potato chips, sit back, get ready, because today we're going to talk about some interesting opinions. All right, our first story is about some recent comments that Stanford head coach Troy Taylor made about Coach Prime. And we have our big Stanford versus Colorado preview and prediction coming up, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video until we get to that. But a reporter asked Coach Taylor the following. He said, a lot of your colleagues are very critical, very negative about Deion Sanders and what he's done at Colorado. I don't know whether it's jealousy or whether they like the team being 1-11. What are your thoughts about Sanders? And here's what he had to say.
Depending on where you're at. But I got to say, he's done a really good job. I mean, they have improved. They play hard. And you know, it's pretty clear that they're a better team than they've been in the past. And I think they'll continue to get better. So I'm not critical at all of what Coach Sanders is doing. He's doing what everybody else is trying to do in terms of adjust and find some sort of a competitive advantage. And
so first off, credit to Coach Taylor for not taking that reporter's bait. Smart move, sir. Let's run through this. He said that Colorado is better than last year, much improved, that Coach Prime has done a good job, and that Colorado plays hard. That, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give Coach Taylor a round of applause. That's how you avoid the pitchforks of the largest fan base at this time in college football. It's a great way to not get Buffalo's fans super, super upset with you over your comments. Now, Coach Prime has already spoken with this fan base about the way that we should act and behave. And I think that when you're dealing with any fanatics, which is what fan is short for, you're going to get some guys that act absolutely crazy. But what I appreciate about this channel and what I appreciate you guys watching for is the fact that you guys don't do that. You guys don't get into it from what I've seen. I read your comments. I try to respond to as many as I can. I try to interact with you guys, but I appreciate you guys are embodying what Coach Prime preaches, and you don't let none of that negativity get you down. That's not what we're here for. That's not why we created this channel. That's not why we cover Coach Prime. We like the positive side of things. And sure, life happens. There's a lot of negative in this world. But we choose to be like Coach Prime, and we appreciate that you guys are like that as well. Hey, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Let's make sure that we're part of the family. We drive content almost every day trying to uplift what Coach Prime's doing and what his message is. All right, with their first conference win notched, the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Sanders don't have long to bask in victory. Friday night, just tomorrow night, Colorado is going to host the Stanford Cardinals in a primetime matchup at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. That was a tight 27-24 win on the road against a reeling Sun Devil squad, and bowl eligibility for the Buffaloes is within reach. For a program coming off a 1-11 campaign the season prior, Deion Sanders has already exceeded all expectations from the national media for his debut season, but still, the Cardinals would love to play spoiler to the Buffs on their home turf, and they could catch Colorado unaware on this short week if the Buffaloes are not careful. Now, Stanford is on the cusp of missing the postseason, sitting at 1-5 on the season to this point, with their lone win coming at Hawaii, and they've lost to the likes of Sacramento State. The Cardinals have an uphill battle against a loaded Pac-12 this season. Colorado should be focused even on a short week with their eyes squarely on an achievable path to postseason play. If the Buffs are caught off guard, however, does Stanford stand a chance to capitalize on this game? What are Stanford's strengths and weaknesses, and how do they stack up against Colorado? Does Colorado continue their momentum toward reaching postseason play. Of all the teams we've previewed so far this season, Stanford's strengths have been the most difficult to figure out. No offense to any Cardinals fans who may be listening. I'm just trying to be as objective as I possibly can. I prefer to sit here and talk about the strengths going in Stanford's favor and how that stacks up against Colorado, but we need to work with what has been put on the field so far. And from a team that is just 1-5 on the season and has a loss at home to an FCS team, it's just truthfully not very much. From what I've been able to find, the Cardinals are an upper half FBS program when it comes to third and fourth down conversions. They rank 60th and 59th respectively. They're 25th nationally in scoring points in the red zone. So when they do make it there, they are capitalizing. They've scored on 91+% of their appearances in the red zone. And Stanford rarely throws interceptions. They're top 10 in the country at a .85 interception rate thrown. Defensively, the Cardinals have very little going for them. The only positive that they have is, frankly, a byproduct of teams going for touchdowns against them instead of settling for field goals. But for what it's worth, Stanford is sixth in the nation at not allowing opponents to convert on field goals, sitting at a 50% conversion rate. The other thing that is going in Stanford's favor is they are coming off a bye, and therefore they've had an extra week to get healthy and prepare for the road contest against Colorado. And Colorado is coming off of a short week, as we mentioned, and an emotional, gutsy win against Arizona State. Stanford has little else going for it in several areas of weakness that Colorado could potentially exploit. They're replacing 60 starters from last season's squad, and that's already a daunting enough task. But rotating between two quarterbacks has afforded the Cardinals little opportunity to establish their offensive identity. It doesn't help that the offensive line for Stanford has allowed 18 sacks through 5 games so far, and they're unable to get a run game, let alone a passing game, going. Stanford naturally has some of the worst stats in the nation on the season. They're 100th in total offense, and they're 117th in scoring. Their offense ranks 103rd in passing at under 200 yards a game. When you look at their defense, it just doesn't get much better for them. They sit 120th, giving up 450 yards a game, and they're also 124th in scoring defense, giving up almost 35 points a game. The specific stat that Colorado has an opportunity to exploit is their passing defense, which is 128th in the country. Reminder, there are 133 teams. There are 5 teams worse than what Stanford is defensively through the air. Meanwhile, Colorado is 8th. They're top 10 in the country in passing offense. Now, while both programs have seen their struggles on defense, Colorado has the passing efficiency to keep opposing defenses honest, which has allowed them to shock the college football world with their 4-2 record on the season. Stanford, frankly, just doesn't have an opportunity to present an efficient offense in any sort, given their personnel issues along the offensive line. And with Travis Hunter potentially on deck to return against Stanford, a primetime atmosphere in Boulder, and bowl eligibility within reach, there is plenty of incentive for the Buffs to capitalize on a floundering Cardinal squad. So what about our prediction for today? Well, we're glad you asked. But just before we get to that, let's give some love to our friends over at Prize Picks. Listen, dozens and dozens of you have deposited, even more have signed up. But if you haven't deposited yet, you've got an opportunity this weekend to take the more or less on some of these Buffs players who are going to go off against a bad Stanford defense. I'm not telling you have to go sign up, but there's never been a better week than this one to go do it. Go to the Prize Picks app. The link is in our description. Use the code BUFFS, B-U-F-F-S. You get a 100% match up to $100. Prize Picks is a ton of fun. It's a great way to have action on games in states like Florida, Georgia, Texas, and California, where so many of you are watching from. Go check out the Prize Picks app today. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoy the code and a little bit of a bonus that we hook you guys up with. All right, as far as a prediction goes, we've picked Colorado all 6 weeks. I understand that, and we've not shied away from being wrong on that twice against both Colorado's matchup at Oregon and Colorado's matchup at home against USC. I think that the Buffaloes are a much better team, and the only thing that I think can beat Colorado this weekend is, frankly, themselves. They have to come out sharp and not let a bad team stick around for longer than they should. And last week, it was going to be an emotional game. There's a reason that Vegas set the spread very, very low. And that's about what Colorado won by. I think it was 3.5. They won by 3. Well, you can't score half points in a game. And there's a reason that Vegas has made this spread quite a bit larger. And if Colorado comes out and takes care of business, and if their defense continues to improve like they have throughout the year, I think they run away with this thing. I don't necessarily see it being close. If Colorado starts quickly, which we talked about that in an earlier video this week, and how Coach Prime was not a fan of a question that a reporter asked about embracing slow starts, I believe that they'll win this thing big. I think they'll cover the spread. I like my money on the Buffs this week. I think that the one concern, the one worry I have is the team somewhat overlooking a team that's had 2 weeks to prepare for you. Now, as fans or someone who covers the team, I think we can say, oh yeah, this should be an easy win, but you never want your players to think, oh yeah, I got this in the bag. You have to give respect to every opponent, whether you're playing Georgia or this team that comes in this weekend that's ranked 128th out of 133. The same respect is required because the game knows when you don't respect your opponent. And when you don't respect your opponent, even if you're way better than them, college football has a way of humbling you very quickly. Not sure if you guys saw the Miami game this weekend where they were a 3-touchdown favorite against Georgia Tech. I'm sure you have, but they didn't take their opponent seriously. Their coach made a blunder in the end, and they lost that game. I don't predict that same thing happens to Colorado this weekend. First of all, I think Colorado has a much better coach, but I do think that we need to take this game very seriously. Our players need to. If you're going to the game, be loud, be proud, go out there and absolutely cheer your tails off. I've got Colorado getting up into the 40s in this game. Give me Colorado 45, Stanford 17. I think we blow them out. They get a late touchdown that makes it look a little bit better. I think the defense shows up this week. The offense is going to roll, and we're going to get to 5-2 with some rest ahead of us. We're going to have a lot of fun things planned for the bye week for you guys. Make sure that you're locked in with the channel. We appreciate you guys for the love. Let me know what your score is down in the comments. Sign up for the Prize Picks app. We appreciate you guys. We love you. Let's go get the win and be one away from going to a bowl game. Love you guys. Thank you for watching the prime time for college football.